I'm Blake Angelos. I'm a product specialist for the synthesizer department at Yamaha Corporation America. It depends, but in the case of a musician that's using multiple keyboards, in the case of a musician that wants to incorporate more than a single keyboard and wants to maybe add some virtual instruments, a lot of times that's a problem. And the problem really isn't necessarily in the connectivity, because all of our instruments have USB audio connectivity and they also are iOS compatible. The problem happens when you want to combine things and do different things with them. Like say, I'd like to use one of my keyboards for the main keyboard and I want to layer a VST instrument, and maybe I want to layer another instrument, or maybe I want to split a keyboard and another keyboard and then have a VST instrument. And the problem is being able to deal with that very quickly and route that. And there are some solutions that are out there, but sometimes those solutions can be a little bit more technologically difficult for a lot of users to get happening. You know, one of the things, for example, is if I have a keyboard that has a bunch of sounds that I want to have access to, a simple thing is just trying to figure out how to get the sounds into another source to do program changes easily. Sometimes you have to look for XML files or something to load into some folder to have that information available to you. So solutions are needed to be able to manage those issues effectively. And you know, for example, one simple thing is just to have some software that could just read your instrument and find the sounds and pull them in, so I don't have to worry about that, and they just easily appear. And another thing is just having a UI that isn't, you know, something where I have to mouse over a little bit to just a small little area on the screen. I mean, I've used different types of software where that's one of the big issues, is just being able to select number one and going, oops, I hit number two because what I'm selecting is so small on the screen. So something that does that effectively. And another thing is sometimes I don't want to drag my computer with me. It'd be nice to have, I'm a big iOS user, it'd be nice to have some sort of an iOS device to handle that. And it's pretty obvious that I'm sort of setting up exactly what I know you guys have developed that does all the things I'm saying. And I'm just giving you real world situations that are solved by Camelot. That's what we're talking about. So, and especially now that I've had a chance to use it and hang with the developers, I really see the benefit. I mean, looking at some of the things that we did on the live stream, and people will be able to see that at YamahaSynth.com. I'll probably put the first day up. The things that we were doing were really cool. Being able to play the montage and just simply layer, and then easily adjust the layer values between the two. Or if I want to play the main keyboard sound from another keyboard, but from my master keyboard, and be able to do it that way, so that my master keyboard now becomes the layer keyboard, or the second keyboard. Or being able to play a plugin. I mean, we played the SWAM plugins, the saxophone sound, and I wanted the pad from the montage here, so I had the ability to do that as well. And just having that flexibility. And then being a jazz musician, a lot of times people will call a tune and I need access to the real book. And there's, or I need access actually to another Italian company, the guys that do the iReal book, where I want to see that. And maybe I just want PDFs of that. To be able to have that inside of the software that's controlling this is something that you guys added. And the fact that if I have maybe a more, like if I'm working a show, a lot of my friends work on Broadway and work on pretty serious, technologically challenging keyboard roles in pit orchestras in Broadway. And they also need to read that score. And so I see them with the score in paper form in front of them, and that can be kind of a kludge. Wouldn't it be great if you had something that as you move through, you could use something like a foot switch, or it would follow the tempo, and the score would move right along in PDF format. And that's what you guys have implemented inside of the Camelot, is having the score in front of you moving alongside to the music. That to me is going to be a huge benefit for people that are really hardworking keyboard players. And I mean, this is a really nice piece of software. It does a lot of things that are different than similar types of software. And I just like its efficiency and the fact, like, let's say I don't use Macintosh. I'm a Windows 10 guy. it works on Windows 10 as well. So if you use a Microsoft Surface, there you go. You can totally operate Camelot from that. It solves a lot of problems that are absolutely true, and you guys just did it better, honestly. So to me, there's a few things that have to come into play. One of them is if I'm playing a song, whereas I do like the fact that there's music notation in Camelot, I try to learn the song so I don't have to refer to it. The better you are familiar with your music, the better you can get to what I call the zone, where whenever any musician can relate to this, that the best music that they ever play is when time just passes and they don't really have any conscious thought. They're just existing in the space between thoughts, and they're just playing. And then you realize that when you kind of come out of that trance that you get, you're like, wow, but you're really like riding that expressive and that creative space. And getting to that creative space, that's the challenge. And a lot of times the challenge that we have with technology is that sometimes the technology pulls you out of that space. And the challenge of people like us at Yamaha is to try and help people to get to that space by making instruments that not only sound amazing, but that also have a user interface that make it easy for people to not have to worry so much about what they're doing here. Things like one-to-one interfaces, for example. That's been a big driving factor in our product development at Yamaha, is to have things that we can just reach up and grab something to turn, so I don't have to enter into a menu. The less menus I have to get to places, the better I have just a single window to operate in that's easy to understand and to get to, the more chance it is to get me to that space where I'm in the thoughts between the thoughts. So there's the preparation that a musician has to have to be a good musician. And this is good for any kids that are watching, any young people that are learning how to play. Learn your music really well. Memorize it. Practice and practice and practice so that you know it's so cold that you can play it in your sleep. That's the first thing. That the second thing is when you come to use the technology, to have technology and to look for technology that works to that end goal of, you're incredibly prepared. You know everything. Now you don't want technology to mess with that. So the better that we can create technology that becomes very transparent, that's the goal. And that's one thing that we at Yamaha really strive for, is to make better user interfaces, less techie stuff for musicians that still have the power that you need. And I think that's a goal that I know that you have in developing Camelot, is to have the similar goal of keeping the user interface feel so that it eliminates that. That's one thing that Simone were talking about at dinner the other night, was just, that's what we're going for. That's what he does in UI design, is do research and talking to people to figure out what it takes to do that. And so there you go. That's long answer, but that's it. That's expensiveness.